Shalom, family, and welcome to another Sound Sabbath class. And for this class, we're going to be getting into the 4th of July, okay? Also known as Independence Day. And it's one of those things where we want to understand, is this something that the Most High God would, desire for us to celebrate? Would he encourage it? And, is it righteous, wicked? And is this something that even our righteous forefathers, what they have done? you know, and just kind of getting, an understanding of those things and even a little more of the history of the day so that we can make a wise decision based upon not my opinion, anyone else's, but rather what we can best find according to the word of the Most High. Okay. So let's get into it. So by the end of this lesson, you should have a good understanding of some of the history regarding the 4th of July, as well as why we should not be partaking in its celebration. Okay. So, what is the 4th of July? The 4th of July, also known as Independence Day or July 4th, has been a federal holiday in the United States since 1941. But the tradition of Independence Day celebrations goes back to the 18th century in the American Revolution. On July 2nd, 1776, remember that year, 1776, the Continental Congress voted in favor of independence, and 2 days later, delegates from the 13 colonies adopted, listen to this, the Declaration of Independence, okay? The Declaration of Independence, a historic document drafted by Thomas Jefferson. From 1776 to the present day, July 4th has been celebrated as the birth of American independence. Listen to that. It's been celebrated as the birth of American independence, with festivities ranging from fireworks, parades, and concerts to more casual family gatherings and barbecues. And that's from history.com. So let's get into it. The festivities. Let's get 1 Corinthians 10, 6 through 7. So, should we partake in these festivities? Okay, let's get the book of 1 Corinthians. So, chapter 10, and let's read verse 6 through 7. The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 10, and let's read verse 6. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 6. Now these things were our examples, to the intent we should not lust after evil things, as they also lusted. So it's finding out we don't want to be in a place where we're lusting, meaning desire. We're deeply, deeply desirous that our intentions are to do things that the Most High would identify as being evil, okay, because he doesn't find them good. Okay. Verse 7. Neither be idolaters, as were some of them. So that's another thing we want to be mindful of. Not saying this is, necessarily directly the case, but indirectly it can be. One may say how? Well, directly, you're not literally bowing down, serving to another God. However, indirectly, you may still be in jeopardy of idolatry, that if these things and others, such as the like, are not sound doctrine to do, celebrate, apply, and you still choose to do so, and you still, take pleasure in doing so, then that's now something you're making an idol, a God, or a power over you above the Most High God. So, in that now your will is becoming the predominant thing rather than the will of the Most High. So that's how indirectly it becomes idolatry. Let's continue on. So written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. And it's not that playing, eating, and drinking, those things are a sin, but it's how they're doing it. And it's that primarily they're doing it unto other powers, deities, gods, etc., but not unto the Most High God. That's why that becomes a problem in context, okay? And let's go ahead and let's get Jeremiah 10 and 2. So let's get the book of Jeremiah, chapter 10 and verse 2. Book of Jeremiah, chapter 10 and verse 2, and it reads, Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. So, understanding we can extrapolate from this and apply in this case is learning that when it comes to not when it says learn not the way of the heathen, it's not saying in terms of every single aspect. Okay, doesn't mean just because one of another nation they know how to get your taxes right, don't learn from them. That's not what it's saying. Okay, in context and understanding it, this is saying when it says learn not the way of the heathen, don't be in a place where you're trying to study, gain knowledge, information on the way, the path, the direction of the wickedness, the things that are unlawful that the other nations practice that God has a problem with. That's not what you want to do. You don't want to go down those paths, because then you can get caught up in those things, even through too much curiosity. And now you're going further and further left until eventually you're no longer to be found in terms of righteousness in the Most High. So let's continue. Let's get Mark 7:6-9. Let's get the book of Mark, chapter 7, and let's read verse 6-9. The book of Mark, chapter 7, and verse 6. He answered and said unto them, well hath Isaiah, which is Isaiah, rendition of Isaiah, prophesied of you hypocrites, as it is written, this people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. So that's the key thing that makes them hypocrites, because you have the people, they'll give lip service. Oh, I love God, God know my heart. I love the Most High, and, oh, Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior. And they'll say those things. They'll give the lip service. They'll give the kind words. But it says their heart meaning your mind, okay? Your mind is far from doing the will of the Most High and Him being a focus in your life and on your day-to-day. So that's not your focus. And that's something that the Most High God and His Son, Hamashiach Yahushua, and the world knows as Jesus Christ, something that they know and understand. So when people say God knows my heart, yeah, He does. He truly does. And He knows that more likely than not, it's wicked. So it's in a place where it's not focused on Him and His righteousness, but rather you doing your own will and trying to go about and establish your own righteousness. So let's continue verse 7. Howbeit in vain do they worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men. And many of us, the things that we do that we believe to be worshiping of the Most High God, serving, Jesus Christ, so on and so forth, praising the Creator, a lot of it is in vain, that you're trying to worship and give honor, and that vanity, it's worthless because you're not doing it the way that He would want you to do it. You're doing it the way you want to do it. And there's a difference. It's no different than someone who they're trying to celebrate you, and they claim they're doing this in honor of you, but literally it's like they made a list of everything it is that you hate and did that. They took you to the place you don't want to go, don't want to be at. They bought you the food that you don't like or you're allergic to, and then they played the game that you really hate or don't like to be a part of. But yet and still they said it's all for you. You're going to start to question that, is that sincerely true? Because these are all the things I don't like. The Most High God is the same way. He's questioning that, hey, these are all the stuff that, man, I don't like. I don't get down like, no, this ain't it. I have a problem with this. So now let's get into next, the day off. That's one of the biggest things. Always give you the day off. Stop, take the day off. I see it approaching, the much awaited, deeply desired long weekend. Keep calm and enjoy your day off. Let's get Psalm 137-3. Okay, because this is a big one. Let's get Psalm chapter 137, and let's read verse 3. Book of Psalm chapter 137 and verse 3. For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. So they require mirth. They require joy and happiness. This becomes part of the day. And one of those biggest ways to do that is to ensure you're available to do it. You ain't got work, and it's more so less of a favor unto you and more of a favor unto them, because it's like with a party. If you're having a party, who likes to have a party with no guests? Usually you want people there, right? That's what makes it festive. We got so and so, we got them in the back. A lot of people showed up. You want things to be popping. So, what way to ensure things are popping when I want things to pop than to make sure you're available? That most people are available. Make it a holiday and have different things going on so that people, hey, show up. All you got to do is show up. That's what they want. All you got to do is show up. Half the time, the stuff be free. Yeah, you got some stuff that's paid, but usually it be minimal. But a lot of stuff just be free. I just want you to show up. You already got the day off. It's like, man, I might as well go to the festivities, go to the function, go to the kickback. So might as well. What else am I doing? I got the day off. That's what they require, that mirth. They want that. They want you to join into their festivities and celebrate their functions and their gatherings. Let's get Ecclesiastes 7 and 7. Let's get the book of Ecclesiastes, and we're going to get chapter 7 and verse 7. Book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and verse 7. And it reads, "Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart." And and those things are also, man, they're connected, because through all this oppression and everything, it gets to you, gets to you. But if you can just have a moment of some peace and they give you some joy and make you feel a little more patriotic, it lessens the blow a little bit. You feel a little bad. Things ain't that bad. Look, we doing this. We got this going on, so it can't be that bad. And it starts to destroy the heart, meaning the mind. You start to think different, lean different, and you start to become more seduced, and you start to get lulled into, oh, yeah, it's all right, it's good, and it shouldn't be a problem. And you start to slowly but surely, turn further and further away from the Most High God and become more accepting of things that the Most High God would not have us to do. So, or find good for us to do. Let's get the next thing. Barbecue. Barbecue, boy. Please join us for a 4th of July barbecue. Good food, good friends, and great fun. Let's get Amos chapter 5, and let's read verse 21 through 24. So, the barbecue, the cookout. Amos chapter 5, verse 21 through 24. And it reads, "I despise your feast days, and I would not smell in your solemn assemblies." So this is even dealing with the feast the Most High did ordain. But why is he saying this? Because if you're in sin, he doesn't care about those things. He wants you to repent sincerely first. Well, how much more for things that aren't even of him and his spirit? So all the more for him to hate them. So as we read, verse 22, "Though you offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings," that's what barbecue is. Those are burnt offerings and meat offerings that you're making. So that's what a barbecue is. That's the same thing that our forefathers and foremothers were doing. When they offered up them oblations, them sacrifices, it was barbecues. So get right on the grill, getting that flame going. Or, if it ain't through charcoal, propane, still getting that flame going. So 22, though you offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them. Neither I regard the peace offering of your fat beast. Verse 23, "Take thou away from me the noise of thy songs. I will not hear the melody of thy vows." He don't want to hear the music and all the turn up. He doesn't even care to hear that. He doesn't want the food, doesn't want the music. Let's read verse 24. "But let judgment run down as waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream." That's what he wants. He wants judgment and righteousness. And judgment isn't necessarily, the condemnation, but judgment is in terms of decision making. A judge has to decide, hey, what should be done in this matter based upon the law. So that's what he needs. He needs you to begin to decide how these things should be handled according to his word and what to do and what not to do according to his word. That's what he needs to begin to happen. Okay? That's what happens. That's what he's looking for. Number one. So, like I said, in writing as a mighty stream, he needs you to really, start to apply his law, statute, command. That's the thing. We listen, we may hear at times, but nah, I need you to start to begin to apply it and make these changes. So that's what I need. Let's get Acts 15:28 through 29. Let's get the book of Acts, chapter 15, and let's read verse 28 through 29. The book of Acts, chapter 15, and verse 28. And it reads, "For it seemed good to the Holy Ghost and to us to lay upon you no greater burden than these necessary things." So, verse 29, "That ye abstain from meats offered to idols, and from blood, and from things strangled, and from fornication, from which if you keep yourselves, ye shall do well. Fare ye well." So these are the things that, we're saying. It's not necessarily to make your lives bitter, miserable, stop you from having fun, but rather to ensure that fun and enjoyment is being filtered through righteousness and just how you're doing. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with barbecuing, nothing wrong with parties, nothing wrong with music, nothing wrong with singing, if those are things that people enjoy or do, but it's just how those things are done and to what occasion. So, and as we'll find out in this occasion, 4th of July is not one that the scripture will speak of in terms of sound for us to do. And more of that we'll get as we go on, as to why. So, like I said, 29, you abstain from meats offered to idols. Okay, so that's dealing with, or for example, need it be Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving dinner, Halloween, or whatever the meals that are oftentimes attached to these days. Those are generally things that are offered unto idols because most, not all, but most of your holidays are things that are dedicated to other gods or other deities. So, because of that, it's dedicated and it's honoring other deities. The food and meals is unto them. That's the thing you don't want to be a part of, because that's one of the top things in terms of celebrating the day. Cooking the food, sharing the food, eating the food, and on those days unto that festivity, and then ultimately the gods of those festivities. So now let's read on. And from blood, so which a lot of times at these events, man, people be having food that is not fully cooked, particularly in terms of meats, so burgers, steak, things that aren't fully cooked. You have to keep yourself away from things of that nature, and just utilizing wisdom with at certain places you may go or situations, because some things are out of your control. With depending on your age or friends, fan, things of that nature. Everyone's not in the same situation, but generally, if you ever had any event, just an event, or an outing or a restaurant, it's always making sure that, hey, everything is fully cooked. Ask for things to be fully cooked. Ask for things to be made well done. Certain events, gatherings not to go to if you're there, or just certain things like, hey, let me just eat something prior so when I go, I'm not hungry. Just keeping that in mind for any event, occasion. It could be a graduation ceremony. It could be a picnic, event. Just keeping those things in mind. So like it says, and from things strangled. Things strangled are things that died in and of itself. So it wasn't killed properly. So that's more so what it's dealing with, as far as like things just strangled, just caught up. So think of it rather, instead of what we would think like a human choking something out or something strangling it that way, but just think rather like you find something and it got caught up in some rope or something, got choked out, or in a gate or fence. Just things that nature, things that died in of itself, stay away from. And from fornication. And this fornication is multifaceted. So, first, dealing with literal fornication, that sometimes these events have hookup culture, hit it and quit it, things of that nature, or just doing sexual things outside of a marital union. So, or without the intent of having a marital union. Also, spiritual fornication. You're being in a space where you're, celebrating things, doing things unto other gods, deities, powers, and not the Most High, or things that it's not just, well, this is what it means to me, but no, but what is it? What is the history behind it? What is, what is the root of it? So now let's get the next thing: parties, families, get-togethers. Let's get Isaiah 55 and 8, because that's what people say. It's just a day. How could it be that bad? Well, let's understand what the Most High says. Let's get Isaiah 55 and 8. Book of Isaiah, chapter 55, and verse 8. And it reads, "For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord." So that's the big thing, understanding the way that we think and reason isn't the same way that the Most High God thinks and reasons. So things we may find okay, he may highly disagree with. And vice versa. Things that, we may disagree with, he may not have a problem with. So we have to understand that as well, and understand that, how does the Most High think? How does God think? And the way you learn that, you say, man, how am I supposed to know how God thinks? How am I supposed to know what he like and don't like? Well, you read his holy word. And then you begin to learn, oh, this is how God operates. Oh, this is how he feels on things of this nature. You begin to learn to get to actually know God. So you got to, study up on him according to what it is he left us to get to know him. Let's get Jeremiah chapter 13, and let's read verse 10. The book of Jeremiah chapter 13 and verse 10, and it reads, "This evil people, which refuse to hear my words, which walk in the imagination of their heart, and walk after other gods to serve them and to worship them, shall even be as this girdle, which is good for nothing." So now, situation, like he says, that's how you end up becoming evil, okay, in the eyes of the Most High, because you refuse to hear his words with the intent to understand and apply. So, and instead, you begin to walk, move, or operate according to your own thoughts and your own mind. So, and begin to serve and worship other gods. So, instead of worshiping and serving the Most High God, even if it's, willfully, or if it's in ignorance, because you're not doing the research, or the root of ignorance is ignore. You choose to ignore it and, not deal with the root of the matter. So not search out the matter. Let's get 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 18 through 21. The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 18, and it reads, "Behold, Israel after the flesh, are not they which eat of the sacrifices partakers of the altar?" So that's how it feels. You eating of these sacrifices, you're also partaker of the altar. Because people say, well, it ain't like I'm, bowing down to things of nature, where Most High is saying, but yeah, if you're partaking of the sacrifices, you might as well have set up the groves and the altars and things of that nature. So that's how Most High feels. Verse 19, "What say I then? That the idol is anything, or that which is offered in sacrifice to idols is anything?" So, because you understand, at the end of the day, we know this idol really isn't a God. Really isn't a God. We know at the end of the day, yeah, the food is just food at the same time. So, verse 20, "But I say that the things which the Gentiles sacrifice, they sacrifice to devils and not to God. And I would not that you should have fellowship with devils." And that's part of it too. That at the end of the day, yeah, but when they do it, they're sacrificing on to reality unto devils, deceiver, things of that nature. It ain't real, but not unto the Most High. And it's best that, man, you don't even have fellowship with those that are contrary, to trying to do what is right. It's best that you just keep your distance, stay away. Hey, they celebrating that, man. I'll catch y'all tomorrow. You know, man, I'll catch y'all next week. It's all right. I'm good. I'll pass. Let's get verse 21. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils. You cannot be partakers of the Lord's table and of the table of devils. That's the Most High feels. So, understanding, He doesn't want us playing both sides of the fence. So, lest you be in a space where you get caught up and you get influenced or seduced little by little. Let's get the next one, parades. Let's get Jeremiah 15:17. Let's get the book of Jeremiah, chapter 15 and verse 17. Let's get more on parades. Book of Jeremiah, chapter 15 and verse 17. And it reads, I sat not in the assembly of the mockers, nor rejoiced. I sat alone because of thy hand, for thou hast filled me with indignation. So, similarly, like, Jeremiah is saying, look, I wasn't sitting in the assembly of the mockers, nor did I rejoice in those things. So it comes down to, that really these things become a mockery to God, that I'm not about to sit up here, because it's understanding with the Most High God have pleasure in it, and He's not going to have pleasure in it, then I'm not going to take pleasure in it. So I'm not going to sit up here and act like buddy with all these people, friends, family, co-workers, and I'm just openly in one accord and positive in terms of the celebration of these things, because I understand the Most High God has a problem with these things. So I'm not about to do that, even if it means, like you said, in verse 17, I sat in the assembly of mockers and joys. I sat alone because even if it means I got to sit alone, which a lot of times we don't like to do. We don't like to be alone. We don't like to be separate or different or, to the wayside. That usually many people have a problem with that. Okay, we want to be included. So that's where the conflict begins, where it's like, well, I don't want to be the only one. I don't want to be the but this walk, this road in terms of righteousness, it's not a popular road. It's not like everybody and their mama like, what? To really serve God? Oh, let's go. And everybody trying to let me do it. What can I learn? What can I do? Where you at? That's not the truth. Most people, when they find out what's really required, that's doing too much. Nah, that ain't it. It's much easier to just thank God, hallelujah, thank you, sweet baby Jesus, and I can live my life however I want to, living my life like it's golden, than to really deal with the reality that, dang, I really got to actually make some changes in my life. I have to start doing this, stop doing that. That becomes the real problem, that makes this road lonely, because people start to see off top, no, that's not what I'm trying to do. That's not really what I'm trying to do. So therefore, I'm not going to do it. So, and I can forget all that. Everything you saying, we don't know. Ain't nobody died and came back that we know we can talk to and confirm. So we don't know. I could be spending a whole life doing all this stuff, and that don't even really be it. What if y'all wrong? And people begin to reason their way out of it, so that way they don't have to apply it. And like the scriptures say, man, find the excuse according to His will. Always gonna come up with a reason as to why you cannot keep His laws or should not keep His laws accordingly, respectively. So let's get next to fireworks. Let's get Psalms 137 and 3. Let's go back there. Book of Psalms, chapter 137 and verse 3. Book of Psalms, chapter 137 and verse 3. And it reads, for there they that carried us away captive required of us a song. And it's understanding that you're dealing with the people, they took you into captivity, and yet and still you want to celebrate their stuff. So you want to take joy and pleasure in the things they take joy and pleasure in. So, like I said, And they that wasted us required of us more. They that wasted, destroy. They that destroyed you, they require of you. They want you to have fun with them on their days. So that's what they want. Saying sing us one of those songs of Zion. Sing us one of them good songs, y'all. Like, get us a tune. Now let's get the next thing, drunkenness. That's another spirit of these days. Let's get Ephesians 5:18. Let's get the book of Ephesians, chapter 5:18. Book of Ephesians, chapter 5 and verse 18. And it reads, actually, we'll start with, verse 17. I like this one too. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. So see, you're supposed to know what God's will is. It ain't supposed to be a mystery thing. You're supposed to begin to understand that. So, like, just overall. Now, in this case, 18, and be not drunk with wine wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit. So making sure you're not being excessive in things. You're not overly indulging, okay? You're moderating. Let's get Tobit 4:15. So the biggest thing when you're drunk, there's excess. You don't want excess. Let's get the book of Tobit, flip right open to it. Tobit chapter 4 and verse 15. The book of Tobit chapter 4 and verse 15, and it reads, do that to no man which thou hatest, which many of us were taught growing up, usually as kids in elementary, treat others the way you want to be treated, right? It's found in the scriptures. Do that to no man which thou hatest. If you don't like that, why would you do that to someone else? So we all have to remember that. We can lose sight of it. Drink not wine to make thee drunken, neither let drunkenness go with thee in thy journey. So we don't want to, drink alcohol to make ourselves drunk. So there's a difference. Yeah, you can drink, have a good time, but you want to be mindful of how far. So, when people say happy 4th of July, time to celebrate with a few, quote, few, end quote, beers. Get wasted. Time to get star-spangled hammered. So then I said, no, this little piggy is going to the bar. So you have things where people begin to go too far. Now let's get the next thing, the Declaration of Independence, which is very important because, remember, 4th of July is also known as what? Independence Day. So let's get more of that history. So now, in Congress, July 4th, 1776, the unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. So let's deal with those things. Let's get 1 Maccabees 1:41 through 44. Let's deal with this because this isn't the first time, like it says, become necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands would have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them. Let's get 1 Maccabees 1:41 through 44. Book of 1 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 41. This is in the time of the Greeks, okay? So in the time of the Greeks, even Alexander the Greek, after his death. Moreover, King Antiochus, or Antiochus, wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. It's that new world order. All should be one people. And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yea, many also the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath. This is what you have. This is what has happened, and still is happening. And notice, see, it's funny too, funny, not funny. But it's ironic because you notice once the king put the order out there, once the government put the order out there, then everybody conformed. Most people conform. See, and everyone, like I said, 42, and everyone should leave his laws, your laws, your customs, your religion, things of that nature, and conform to the standard of the Greek lifestyle, which many people do in this case, conform to the American standard. It don't matter what religious background people have, they'll come together for them holidays. 9 times out of 10, most people you talk to, them holidays, they still for. Regardless, you could be Christian, Muslim, atheist, and you still gonna keep some 4th of July, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween. A lot of them things you see people are still gonna keep. That's part of what it's talking about. That's what you see even to this very day. I said, so all the heathen, all the other nations, they agreed according to commandment of the king. It was easy for them. Oh yeah, sure, not a problem. We'll keep that. Yeah. 43. Yea. Notice this. Yea. Many also. Notice it didn't say a few. It didn't say a handful. It didn't say, a remnant. It said many. Meaning what? You're looking at the majority. The majority of our people said, all right, good enough for us. That's how quick our people can switch up. Same people you read about in the wilderness. Same people, came out of Egypt. Same descendants. Hey, all right, this is what it is. I mean, what we going to do? I mean, the government says so. Supposed to fight against the government? Supposed to disagree? It is what it is. I mean, if God didn't want us doing it, he wouldn't put us in a position, would he? So we got to do it then. Shoot, it's really what God wants. Now we blessed with prosperity here and good food and days off and things. I mean, we living good. That become the mindset, the reasoning. What says verse 43, yea, many also the Israelites consented to his religion. People think, well, dang, these things become religion. That's what it is. It's a religion. And it's not necessarily a religion in the same exact way we think of, all right, Muslim, Christian, atheist. But remember, religion, the root of it is a way of living, a lifestyle. This is how you live. This is how your lifestyle. This is what you do. This is what you practice. That's what you're dealing with. So people, their lifestyle is yearly. They keep these holidays year after year. They celebrate, do the whole 9, year after year. So that is a religion in and of itself. Yea, many also the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols, whether knowingly, full, I got a lot of knowledge on it, I got a little, or I got none. I'm just starting to tell you, this is what begins to happen. And profane the Sabbath. And you started to break the Sabbath day. Verse 44. For the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah. They should follow the strange laws of the land. They start making laws to, hey, this is what we want you to do, and this is how we want you to do it. And this other stuff we don't want you doing. Verse 49. What was the purpose? To the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. That's always it. They're trying to get you to forget righteousness and that they can begin to change the laws in which you do follow. Nah, you don't follow that no more. You follow this. And they get you, and especially if they can get the kids, oh, man, nail in the coffin, because they got a whole generation that done bought in, and it's going to keep going perpetually. Because they got you locked in as a kid, you're more than likely to teach your kids the same thing. Let's get Sirach 33, 10 through 13. Let's get Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus, chapter 33, verse 10 through 13. The book of Ecclesiasticus, also known as the book of Sirach, chapter 33 and verse 10. Because we have to get, like I said, the latter end of the opening. So, and to assume among the powers of earth the separate and equal station to which laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Let's get Sirach 33 and 10. And all men are from the ground, and Adam was created of earth. So we understand at the end of the day, yeah, everybody come from the earth. Everybody come from dirt, right? So, but does that mean that we're all the same and all equal? That's what people say. We all got blood, we're all human beings. We're all the same. We all bleed the same color. We're all the same. Everything same. But is that truly how the Most High God feels? Let's read. Verse 11. In much knowledge, the Lord have divided them and made their ways diverse. So we all so much separation. We're separated. That's the way God wanted it. He divided them. He divided man. That was his will to divide man. And notice we ain't all the same. We ain't all the same height, skin color. We ain't even all got the same set of teeth. We ain't even got all the same blood. We got different blood types. So we're different. But that's why he says, and made their ways diverse. Diverse is what? Different. There's a variety of there. Baskin Robbins, 21 flavor. Like, that's how he feels. It ain't just all one. No, I got variety. He said, I got y'all in the variety pack. It's different. Let's read on, though. Verse 12. Some of them hath he blessed and exalted. Some he blessed and exalted. Some people he blessed and uplifts. You know, some people, some nations. And some of them hath he sanctified and set near himself. Others he's cleansed and said, hey, these are mine. You know, some he just uplifted and exalted. Others, hey, but y'all, these are mine. These with me. You know. But let's read on. Some of them hath he cursed and brought low and turned out of their place. Others on the opposite. Nah, them individuals and them people, them nations, I cursed. They in a low position. That was my will. Because of how they acted. 13. As the clay is in the potter's hand to fashion at his pleasure, so man is in the hand of him that made him. So it's the same thing. God's in a space where, look, clay's in my hand, I make what I want with it. So if I'm gonna say, all right, you know what I'm gonna make? I'm gonna make these people, they're gonna be like the dinner plate. You guys are gonna be the bowl. We're gonna have the bowl here. You guys over here, you're gonna be a vase. And like, dang, why I'm a vase? I want to be the dinner plate. I want good food on me. Nope, that ain't what I made you. You're gonna be the vase. So it's up to him. Let's continue. We're gonna Proverbs 26 and 25 next. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. Let's get Proverbs 26 and 25. Let's get Proverbs 26 and 25. Let's get this. Book of Proverbs chapter 26 and verse 25 says, when he speaketh fair, believe him not. For there are 7 abominations in his heart. This is how it starts. Because remember, when they're writing this, 1776, chattel slavery was still in play. Slavery was still in play. So it becomes questionable that who all are you talking to? Because slavery was still a thing. It was still going on. So, like I said, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. That obviously wasn't including the slaves. Because that was true, they would have set them free prior to this or even immediately following. But that didn't happen until sometime later. Let's get Deuteronomy 7 and 6. Let's get the book of Deuteronomy. And let's get chapter 7. And let's read verse 6. Book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7 and verse 6. And it reads, for thou art an holy people. He didn't make everybody a holy people, okay? For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. We ain't a holy people unto everybody, but unto the Most High God we are. It says, the Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself. What does that mean? Is it above all people that are upon the face of the earth, not equal to. You know, and people have a problem with that, but that's the truth. It's God's word, not mine. So clear as day that's how God feels. Hey, he did that. Let's see. People say, what about, Christ, New Testament? Let's get Romans. Romans chapter 9 and verse 4. So get the book of Romans chapter 9 and verse 4. And it reads, who are his people? Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth, this is everything that pertains unto them, okay? The adoption is what? The chosen. That's why the chosen people still do. When you adopt, when you choose, that hey, I select you. You're chosen. You're mine. So that's what he did with the Israelites. And the glory of what? The glory of the forefathers and foremothers, from Moses, Esther, Judith, you know, Mordecai, so on and so forth, you know, and all the glory, the stories of everything, the Exodus, and, you know, so on and so forth. So, and the covenants, the old covenant, the new covenant, that's all what pertains unto them. That's why it says covenants, not just covenant, the covenants, the old and new. So, and the giving of the law, the people, we primarily focus on making sure they had the law and remembered to keep it. And the service of God and his servants, as also said Leviticus 25:55, the service of God, that the key people that are his servants. And the promises, all the promises. What promises? The promises to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Those promises still stand to this day for them. Let's get 2 Ezra 6:54 through 58. Somebody gonna hear me. Let's get 2 Ezra chapter 6, and let's read verse 54 through 58. 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 54. And it reads, and after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures. So Adam, he was in a place of rulership. He was in a place where he was ruling over everything and everyone else. It said, of all thy creatures. That includes man. Of him come we all. We understand of him, everyone descends from Adam on the face of the earth. Of him come we all. And the people also whom thou hast chosen. But even though we all come from Adam, the chosen people of the Most High also come from Adam. But yet and still, they're viewed differently in a different position. Verse 55. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. He made this world, this earth as you know it, for the children of Israel. Set the bounds according to them. That's just the truth, you know, and hey, everything he likes. Number 12 tribes. The day is split up into 12 hours of AM, PM. You also have, he loves number 12, 12 12 months in a year. A lot of things revolve around the number 12, but setting the bounds according to the children of Israel. Verse 56. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, people say, what about everybody else? How does God feel? Let's read. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and as like in the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. Now, when it says that they are nothing but like unto spittle, spittle is another word for spit. You know, when you spit upon the ground, you're not going back to try to pick that up. It's, hey, that's there, leave it there. So even as it says, and it's like in the abundance of them, even if we take the other day, put them together, how do you feel? It says, it's like in the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. Vessel is like a glass of water. You're not looking at, dang, it's that last drop in there. Dang, I need that drop. It's, oh, it didn't feel, that's all right. You know, as I said, it's likened unto a drop. So it's not something that is highly regarded. So some people, man, that's messed up. That's not fair. They had a choice. Everyone had a choice, and they chose how they were going to live their life. They chose up, you know, and still choose. They can serve the living creator, but they don't, they haven't, and they won't. So now let's continue. So now it says, institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience have shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. When a long train of abuses and assertions pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having a direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. Let's get Psalms 19 and 7. Let's reflect on this. Psalms 19 and 7. Look at Psalms chapter 19 and verse 7. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. You'll find out when you're looking at perfection, the only way you're going to get it is through the application of the law of the Most High, because it's flawless in terms of perfection. But even with perfection, not really focusing on, when the scriptures call us to be perfect, not being flawless, but rather being complete. Okay, you want to be the complete edition. Okay, that's what the Most High God wants for you. So really for everybody, it's just to apply His law, standing commandments, because it will make you complete in terms of everything you need to move how you need to move, which is important because skip down to verse 12. It says, who can understand his errors? Because at times we may not even understand what all we have done wrong, why it was wrong, and how to make it right. So which is why we also pray and ask for this. Cleanse thou me from secret faults. How? Because things I may not even know I done messed up on, but the Most High God got a problem with. So I may not even know. So you got to be aware that, man, that's why I just learning the law. That's why reading this Bible is not just cover to cover read. I'm done with it. I read it. You can read the whole thing cover to cover 3 times over. Doesn't mean you understand it. Doesn't mean you understand it. Doesn't mean you're applying it the way that you need to on a day-to-day. But understanding we're going to make errors, but we may not even understand all the errors that we make or have made. So asking to be cleansed from them secret faults and to help me learn truly how you would have me to go and have me to be. Let's get 1 Thessalonians 5 and 3. Gotta get Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 3. Look at 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 3, and it reads, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Because that's what happens. All these things in terms of peace and say, oh, doing good, but yet and still, think about it. How has America primarily brought peace? Through war, through bloodshed. That's how they have brought about peace and safety. So they haven't been known throughout history to everything is, let's protest, let's march. That hasn't been their approach. That's what they want you to do, because they understand, yeah, we can deal with that. Yeah, toss some bone or something. As long as they just peaceful protest, we ain't worried about it. That's all right. As long as you ain't trying to go to war, start some armed conflict, we good, because that's what we do. We gonna start some wars and armed conflict because we know that's really gonna get things to move. So let's get Daniel 8 and 25. Let's get the book of Daniel. And we want Daniel chapter 8 and verse 25. Got it right there. Book of Daniel chapter 8 and verse 25. And it reads, and through his policy, that's where we get the politics and governments and things of that nature. So, and through his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper. And that's that, fixed form or like things like witchcraft and evil works, things that you putting all this together. You're trying to work these things to work out this way. No, that's and it ain't right. That's why I say he shall cause craft, these evil things that he's put together, to prosper in his hand, in which they do. They put together these policies and things and sign the contract when all these things are meant to pretty much condemn you and exonerate them. So it's they're good. They always find a loophole to get off the hook, be good, but they throw you under the bus. He shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. That's the main way they're destroying now, is by peace. It didn't say a few, it said many, destroying many through peace. Man, that's a cold individual, boy. That's a cold nation. See, most people, it's crazy because you look at it, to destroy, you got to pick up gun, sword, not whatever, you know. But it's a cold piece of work. When you find someone that can destroy you by peace, man, that person, you got to make a medal to give that person. You got to make a medal to give them. You got to give them credit. That's a cold piece of work, to destroy somebody peacefully. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Destroyed, because that's what's been happening. That's what's been happening. If you see it, that's what's been happening. You've been destroyed. You've been getting destroyed by peace. Ironically, right? Because we think, I want some peace and happiness, peace, love, and chicken grease. That's what's destroying you. Actually, for our people, all three of them destroying you: peace, love, and chicken grease. Because you getting the wrong type of love, wrong type of peace, and that chicken grease, hey, it ain't there. It ain't there for you. It ain't helping you. So you getting destroyed. But that's the goal. That's how wisely diabolical this man is. You know, to destroy you through the pen and paper. Boy, write up a contract so fast, write up a treaty so fast, boy. Bam, I got you. It's in the letter. We got to abide by it. It's in the letter. To learn, boy, word game be on point. Remember, we can't do that because Section 2, Paragraph 3 says this. Remember, you signed the contract, so you agreed to it. You abide to it. The contract don't be explained to you thoroughly. Understand everything which you signing. They be making them longer. All them contracts you be agreeing to nowadays. Use your phone, apps, and everything. Everything got a contract attached to it, and you ain't taking the time to read that every single time. You ain't even read the first one. Thing once it get a paragraph too long, nope, scroll. And they be making it long on purpose. 10, 15 pages, scroll. All the fine print, all that small writing, scroll. Because it'll take you realistically too long to read. That's like a whole job just to read those things. Real talk. They did studies in terms of just like it would take way too long, like a phenomenal number. I don't want to quote the wrong thing, but just too many working hours to really sit there and read all these things, just to read it, let alone to be able to dissect it, interpret it, and say, hey, this ain't good, this ain't right. So, and they know you just, as long as, now and they try to make it slightly better. They make it where you can't just bypass and click it. They make it where you got to scroll, and then you can click once you scroll all the way to the bottom, but they don't make it no better because they know you just finna, all right, click, and let's be done. You ain't finna spend the time reading. If it took you that long to scroll, why am I finna sit there and just slow read that whole? No, negative. And that's how they get you. You agree to some stuff that the average person didn't even know was in there until lawsuit or something happened. It's like, dang, that was in there? Dang, they said that? Like, even like heard news like Disneyland, something crazy, with a situation when it was a couple, but the woman got hurt like at the theme park and had to go die, tried to sue, but found out she couldn't sue because in the policy, when you agreed to their Disney Plus app, to their streaming service, like it got stuff in there where you can't, sue certain stuff. And it's like, dang, because I agreed to watch, through your app. Now I get hurt here. I can't sue you for that. That's some crazy stuff. But they got stuff in there that when they want to pull it out, oh, nope. Clause 7, Section 3, Paragraph 2, Sentence 7, see that? That's no-go. See, you agree to that. They want to hold you full accountable. So, again, verse 25, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. He shall magnify himself in his heart. So, man, uplifting himself. Who can come against America? Who can stop America? This is America. Ain't nobody stopping us. That's how they feel. That's part of magnify himself in his heart. And by peace shall destroy many. That's the number one way of destroy. Boy, ain't no better way to destroy nowadays than through peace. Making laws, things in the codes, and everything else. Even things with, with produce and with food, but say, hey, I can destroy many by peaceable ways. Redlining and you know, um, places with no rent restriction, things of that nature, like things I can just continue to make things harder on you through peace. Pen and paper, to where you have little to no power to do anything about it. So he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. He's also gonna try to stand against the Most High God and His Son when they return, but he ain't gonna make it. He ain't gonna win that battle. It's part of them alien invasions. Yeah, you ain't winning that. You may think you are. That's when we get Isaiah 32:6. It says, he has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till its assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend to them. He has refused to pass the laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation of legislator, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He had dissolved representative houses repeatedly, for opposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people. Now think about this. If you really read this, you're going to see there's a lot of hypocrisy, because this is how America rolls. You're complaining Great Britain was doing all this, but yeah, this is how you operate. The enemy that you had and you hated, that's what you became. You became the very thing that you hated and you were trying to get away from. That's what you became and imposed on others. So we get Isaiah 32:6. And that happens. Sometimes it can be difficult to see your own reflection at times, because realizing the very thing you're trying to run away from, you're running too. The very thing you're accusing someone else of doing, you yourself are doing. Let's get Isaiah 32:6. Look at Isaiah chapter 32 and verse 6. And it reads, turn ye unto him from whom the children, 32:6. It says, for the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against the Lord, to make empty the soul of the hungry, and he will cause the drink of the thirsty to fail. That's what he's speaking. Being a vile person, all they're going to get, they're going to speak villainy. This is all villainy. It's one of those things, boy, violence, villainy, the same one. Sound like an old school cartoon. Take that, you fiend! You vile, evil person! That's what it is. A vile person will speak villainy. So, in his heart, man, his mind, it's always going to be in a place of iniquity. That's where you're really dealing. This is really where you're dealing with that wickedness. Their mind is always thinking about things that are wicked. They're always occupying on things that are wicked. And then they're always doing things that are hypocritical. That's always the thing that they're doing. So this is what they're on. And they're speaking these things that are wrong against the Lord. They're uttering error. That's the thing that, nah, you're wrong. That ain't right. This is it. So, let me see. Yeah, I ain't going to be able to finish all this. So, but we'll go ahead and, end it there. But yeah, you definitely, man, I encourage you to continue, reading, because I got like 10 scriptures to go through. But, I'm already over for time. But nevertheless, man, I hope, you guys have, learned, a lot in terms of 4th of July Independence Day. And just, this is not something I would celebrate or recommend based on the scriptures and the history of it for us to celebrate, that God would give us to celebrate, because we're very much so, at the time that 4th of July came into existence, Independence Day, we were very much so, as a nation of people, still in captivity, even as this very day, and we're still not independent. We are very much so dependent on the system. We're not in a place where we have our own state This is the state of Israelites, or this is the state of, so-called blacks and so on and so forth, African American. Like, we don't have our own stores as a whole, our own, successful schools and hospitals, and just our own real community and our own military. That's the big thing. We don't have our own military. So you try to make your own military, they're gonna disband that thing so fast, arrest the leaders, and no, they're not gonna have that. Out of fear of what? Of insurrections and revolts and coup d'etats. That, nah, they can't have that. So they can't even think about it. It's 50 states. We can't even get one of them. Let alone two. We can't even get a good solid one. Let us all move to here. You know, just let us all move to Texas. Let us all move to California. Let us all move to, like, man, give us something. So they ain't even trying to do that. But nevertheless, I conclude these things and just meditate on them, and go back over these things, meditate, and fast pray if it's a struggle for you, so you can be in a compliance with what the will of the Most High God is instead of what it is that your will is. Okay. So nevertheless, with that, I'm gonna say shalom.